Hi everyone, this is Mark Lefebvre with Level Up Boot Camps for the Level 3 CFA exam. Something candidates like to ask me is, what factors should I look for in a review provider? It could be for Level 1, it could be for Level 2, it could be for Level 3. And I thought I'd put a quick video together to kind of help for you. Now this isn't a total comprehensive list, but this would be a list of things that you should consider. I've been doing this for about 28 years, so I know a little bit about all of this. And the other thing is you can always go to the CFA Institute website, go to prep providers and see what they ask you to look for there as well. So there's a kind of a commingled list here of things that we ought to be considering. So let's take a look at the first one. So as I said, the CFA Institute has a list of prep providers. And in that list, they say they pledge to the candidate that we check that all the tutors are CFA charter holders. It's kind of important. If you're going to have somebody coaching you through the process, maybe they should have the CFA designation. And they update their materials annually. The curriculum does change, and making sure that you've got that is an important factor, because if they're not updating things based on curriculum change, that could be a problem. The other thing is if they have the CFA Institute logo on their website, that's a no-no. That means that there's something wrong with that review provider, because if they were approved, or not approved, but if the Institute has vetted them, they look at their website and make sure they do not have the CFA Institute logo on it. If they do have the logo, maybe look somewhere else. Check the biographies on the website. Make sure that the person who's tutoring you has got all the credentials that you feel are necessary to help you along your journey. Do they hold the CFA charter? I mean, I think I've had some respected friends say, you wouldn't go to law school and have somebody that wasn't an attorney teaching you about the law. You wouldn't go to med school unless that person who was teaching you had actually gone to med school and done that as a profession. Now, I'm just saying this is one criteria. Just having the CFA designation does not make you a good instructor. They are two separate issues. But at least having the designation, going through the process, sitting and taking the exam, passing the level 1, passing level 2, passing level 3, and getting your charter through either experience or an academic background as such as a professor gives you the ability to say, I'm a CFA charter holder. And I think that journey, doing it yourself, is worth a whole lot if you're then going to then coach somebody. If we ever look at things like football, if we look at sports, if we even look at really good practitioners, they've done what they then espouse to help others do. And I think that's a critical factor you at least should look into. Education credentials. Do they have an accounting background? Do they have an economics background? Do they have a finance background? What's interesting is if you took accounting and intersected it with economics, that's finance. And so the combination of all three of these strong academic, educational credentials really is going to make somebody a very strong person to help you along in your journey and earning your charter. Now, the CFA exam is all about theory and practice. And so the problem is you can get somebody who's theoretical, such as an academic, but has never actually done what they are then espousing to do in this process. Meaning, are they an industry finance investment practitioner? Do they have a background in investment banking? Have they been doing financial analysis? Are they a licensed representative through FINRA or an insurance agency? Have they done investment management? Have they sat down with high net worth clients through different market cycles? Have they managed institutional money and the complexity that comes with these things? All of these things will help that instructor provide insight and understanding and complement what might be in the book. So I'm not saying that this is something that they were required to have, but it would be something nice for them to have to be able to connect the dots with the theory and the practice. How much teaching experience have they had? We all know, we've all sat in classes where an instructor comes in and we're like looking at our watches until the class stops and until the semester ends. Because just because you have an academic credential doesn't mean you know how to teach. And just because you don't have academic credentials doesn't mean that you can't teach. Teaching is a learned skill set. Teaching takes lots of time to be able to kind of rewire the brain to be able to communicate to you what is important about a topic, take questions, be able to address your questions, be able to help you see things from a different perspective. Now, I've been doing live classes since 1995. And I think live classes are exactly the kind of thing that you ought to be able to put somebody through and say, can you teach a live class? Can you get in front of CFA candidates? You guys are smart. You guys are hard driving, smart individuals. You wouldn't get to the CFA exam if you weren't. And being able to take questions on the fly, being able to help you solve the problems, get you through the process and help you understand very difficult concepts, be able to turn something around, make it something different, be able to provide it. Now, Malcolm Gladwell will say that in order to become really proficient at something, you need about 10,000 hours in his book, Outliers. How much teaching have they done? 10,000 hours would be a good benchmark. Just saying, just something to think about. Are they curriculum based? Turn to them and say, when's the last time you read the CFA curriculum? 5 years ago? 3 years ago? This year? Every week you're reading the reading in which you're preparing for? Bingo, that would be the place that you want to go. There can be a huge disconnect between the candidate curriculum and review provider notes because they don't stay in it every year. They kind of like, well, as the reading hasn't changed, then I don't need to update our notes. You know what? Are you sure the reading hasn't changed? There are small details that change in the curriculum from year to year. I've seen tables, I've seen numbers, I've seen examples that change. And if somebody isn't on top of that and being focused on the curriculum, simply relying upon summary notes, that's not going to get you there. You're really going to have to know all the details that are there. Can you ask them questions from the curriculum? Not question banks, not mock exams. Now, all those things are out there, that's for sure. But the CFA exam is basically predominantly based on the CFA curriculum. Can they answer your questions if you have a CFA Institute program reading question? Can they answer an example that's in the book? Can they help you solve that problem? Can they show you a screenshot from the book that'll answer the question? And so the questions in the candidate curriculum have a lot of nuances and a lot of details that they ask on the exam. And having a provider that shows you how to be able to answer those questions is one that's going to help you be successful. Does your review provider show you notes about erratas? Meaning, do they highlight the errors that are in the candidate curriculum? Now, my intention here is not to point fingers at the CFA Institute and say that there's errors and oh my gosh, that's a horrible thing. Everybody makes mistakes. We just want to minimize the amount of mistakes we make on our CFA exam. And this institute comes out about once a month and says, here are some errors that we've had reported to us in the candidate curriculum. It is our responsibility as candidates and instructors to inform you, the candidate, that there are errata. And if you're not getting those emails, if you're not getting those updates, and there's no awareness of that by that provider, that's a breakdown. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be a question on the exam about a topic in which an errata fixed a problem, a formula, a concept, an example, a number, and you needed to know it. But you didn't because something broke down in the communication links. Now, it is solely the responsibility of the candidate to go find the errata, which means that it's really upon you to go do so, but having somebody as an instructor facilitate that along the way would be extremely helpful. What is their history with the exam? I mean, I took the 1992 exam for level 1, 1993 for level 2, 1994 for level 3, when it was only given once a year. And since 1994, I've seen the essay exams all the way to 2018 when they stopped giving them out. Having an understanding of what they have tested, how they've tested various topics, how the curriculum has changed between 2017 and prior to pre-2017. So using the old CFA exams, the old essays, are not a way to do things anymore. And any review provider that is still using those old exams to help you learn to do constructed response questions. Now, if they've changed the question, that's one thing. If they've maintained the nature of the question that was back in the old exams prior to 2018, there's a huge disconnect you need to be aware of. That is a breakdown. That means that that topic may have been tested, but the way they presented it in the curriculum since 2017 has been revised. And therefore, if it's been revised in the way it's been presented, that will not be a valid way to answer the question. I actually believe, and I should do a video on this, what are the primary reasons that level 3 candidates do not pass? I think one of it is they keep searching for the old essay exams, and it's a big breakdown for them. It is not a helpful exercise anymore. I used to use them a ton. I don't use them anymore. And lastly, what else does a prep provider do? Do they only teach CFA? I think that's probably the best strategy. Teaching something like the medical licensing step 2 exam, step 1, teaching actuarial sciences, it might be facilitative because that's the liability side of the balance sheet versus the asset side. But again, what it does, it pulls their attention away from the CFA designation. And so the curriculum is hard enough. 2,500 pages at level 3. If they're not sticking their nose into that every single week, refining and understanding and getting better and better and better at understanding and being able to deliver it to you, and they're being distracted by something else with real estate licensing or accounting, all those things are helpful. But again, it's distracting their attention from helping you at the one task you are doing, which is trying to pass the CFA exam. So with all of that, I just want to say these are just criteria, factors, individual components. Not every instructor is going to have all of them. And just because they have all of them doesn't make them the best instructor, and having none of them doesn't make them a horrible instructor. We're just saying that these are some factors to consider, to evaluate, to do an optimization, say, well, I'm really interested in these factors and these aren't so important to me. So accessibility to the instructor, will they answer your phone calls? Will they answer your emails? Will they help mentor you through the program? Once you get your charter, will they help you with doing the CFA recommendation? Can they help you then obtain a job or a promotion or something else? Those are all other factors that might go into the process of selecting an instructor. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I hope the conversation about this opens up a lot of good doors and you find yourself a great instructor.